why the increase?
What?
Why the increase in popularity recently? What do you think caused it?
The conflict escalates all the time. I mean, we know that a lot of people agree with us. That's not the issue, getting people to agree with us. They do that already. The issue is how many people think these issues are important enough to lay their actually vote on us. And that's where the escalation of conflict comes in. If these conflicts escalate, more people will vote for us because they already believe as we believe, that the internet needs to be free in a democratic arena.
Just really quick, could you explain to our readers how this even works, the process? I mean, how did you guys even get a vote or how to get a seat in the parliament? How does this work in Europe? You have to get X percent or what's the...
That's big. Okay, so just shortly.
An easy explanation, yeah.
Right. Every citizen gets to vote. Every citizen above 18 gets to vote. You got to get your ideas out there. We don't have a two-party system, but we actually have many, many small parties. I think there were 11 or 12 fighting for seats in the European Parliament. Sweden has 18 seats out of the 736. So us getting 7% of the national vote total meant we got one seat of those 18. Now it might just be one seat of 736, but we got there on a very, very narrow platform. We got there on civil liberties online alone. And that's important because that made us the funniest animal in all of zoo in these 736 seats. So we have an immense international spotlight on us right now. My
last question, and then see if Jane's got anything else. Why I know you guys aren't directly connected with the Pirate Bay, right?
We are not directly connected.
But there's some kind of...
Right. You can think of us... You can think of the Pirate Bay and the Pirate Party, well, Pirate Parties, I should say, because there are several others in different countries, as more or less Greenpeace and Green parties.
Okay.
They're activists, we're politicians. We share the same values and ideals. They go about making action out of it. We go the parliamentary route.
Okay, because the Pirate Bay had gotten involved in helping Iranians try to figure out how to go online safely.
We were involved in that as well. We do quite a bit of activism, but we also aim for...
I was just curious about the connection there. Because I wouldn't think of you as a group getting involved in any of the sort of human rights struggles around the world or whatever necessarily, but what's the connection with Iran, you think?
Well, we don't choose sides in Iran, but we do help people communicate. We believe that free communication is a basic human right, and suppression of that is an oppressive tool that should be denied governments. So, free communication, that's what we stand for. Civil liberties, online as well as offline. Those applies to everybody without choosing sides in a conflict.
So why would you say that the Pirate Party is stronger in Sweden than it is in the rest of Europe?
I believe it's because we had early broadband rollout in Sweden.
Oh, yes?
10 years ago, I had 10 megabit fiber to my apartment in 1998. Today, 100 megabit is the norm in most Swedish apartments. And gigabit connections are, well, heard of. They are not that uncommon. And if you go across Europe today, I mean, people have 2 megabits, 12 megabits. People here don't ask, do you have ADSL or cable? Everybody has fiber. We don't piggyback on yesterday's technologies.
That's interesting. So what do you...
So getting to my point, sorry.
Yes.
We, since broadband rollout was that early, just taking one example, when you can download a movie in 4 minutes instead of 3 days, it kickstarts the public's perception of how this technology can and maybe should be used. When you put that kind of disruptive technology into the hands of everybody, it becomes politics. So I think it was just kick-started here. We're just a little bit ahead of the curve of a discussion that's coming to everywhere.
Well, I agree. And in America, it's interesting because it's very much the liberals versus the conservative libertarians come together for civil liberties, but it hasn't reached the level of concern or saturation that it has here, even though broadband is quite pervasive. I think it's interesting. I'm trying to understand how everybody became so concerned with it. Is it just because people are very interconnected? Were there issues, moments that you think sort of enraged people or got them engaged?
Well, the verdict against the Pirate Bay was certainly a catalyst. I mean, when people that are heroes in the eyes of most people got 1 year in prison and a 3 million damage, 3 million had to pay 3 million in damages. Sorry. I mean, people all of a sudden realized that we hadn't been crying wolf, but the damn wolf was clawing at the front door. So I think that was a wake-up call to a lot of people.
Do you get national security being invoked for some of these things? Because that's what we get all the time. Oh, we have to do this for national security.
Oh yes, all the time. I mean, when there was general wiretapping law pushed through last year, I mean, saying that all phone calls, all internet traffic that happens across the country's borders is now wiretapped by government. And okay, so at least we get a law about it. But I mean, you don't know when your call happens across a national border just for technical reasons. So we went from you have the right to privacy to you are always wiretapped. Have a nice day, citizen. With the stroke of a pen, and that caused a major outcry. And that was basically when we went in the eyes of the public from being a file sharing party to civil liberties party.
When was that? How many years ago?
Last summer.
Oh, really? Was that recently?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I think it's fascinating. We just haven't been able to generate that level of interest in the United States yet. I think people are still very much buying the national security argument. But do you think the whole national security argument is sort of a ruse for economic interests that are interested in protecting?
Well, there are certainly economic interests that benefit from this national security. But no, I don't think so.
You really think it's generated?
I think it's politicians that want to look tough on terrorists or
Right.
tough on threats. But I mean, once you say that these civil liberties need to give in to national security, once you've stated that this particular interest overrides civil liberties that are supposed to be absolute, once you've surrendered the absoluteness of civil liberties, you're on a slipping slope that there's really no end to. You can justify anything, any reduction in civil liberties with national security, right to the point where it's a crime to hide your most private details from law enforcement because you would otherwise be a terrorist or potential criminal.
But look at the United States. I mean, we've lost habeas corpus. We've got indefinite
There you go.
detention now.
There
I
you
mean,
go.
in my childhood, we never thought these things were possible.
There you go.
We thought it was a pillar of democracy.
Right, there you go. Exactly, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we're involved in the same thing. We're just a little bit behind you.
Well, you need to politicize, and you have a two-party system, so it's much harder. I mean,
Yes.
you can't hack democracy the way we do. You can't aim for 5% and be the tiebreaker and to sit down to determine who becomes the next prime minister. Because if you would be able to hack the system and get civil liberties back in return for the prime ministry. That's how we.
That's how you're looking at next
Right,
year?
that's our strategy. Be the tiebreaker. 5%. That's all we need to get all our wishes through.
But were you guys
Wow.
actively trying to get the 5%? I mean, was this a little bit of dumb luck, or did you guys actually organize extensively for this election, trying to get the 5% or the 4% or whatever it is you got?
I mean, this was partly a rehearsal for next year when our national election is.
Okay.
We need to be the tiebreaker in national parliament to get our civil liberties back. That's what we're aiming for. This was partly a rehearsal for that, but also a huge legitimizer for our ideas. I mean, pirates got into parliament.
Are there elections? I mean, what's going on in other European countries as far as trying to get representation in their parliaments as well, in the local
Oh
parliaments?
yeah, there are pirate parties in most states of Europe, and the German Piratenpartei did particularly well. They got 0.9%. That may not sound like much, but that means they got public funding, which is a huge boost for their, everything they do basically.
So do you have public funding?
Nope.
Nope.
We don't. Even though we got 7.1, we don't get public funding.
Why not?
We need more than 2.5 in a national election to get that in Sweden.
I see.
This was a national election.
But in 2010, you anticipate that, cross your fingers, all goes well.
Right,
knock
we're
wood.
hoping for the best.
That would be great. Well, congratulations. This is very exciting.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. It's very interesting.
Thank you.
All right.
And good luck with blog and readership.
Do you